Hello, everybody, and welcome to our webinar. Today's webinar is on the topic of Cover Your Assets, how to prevent your employees from stealing your data. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us. Just by virtue of the fact that you're all here, I don't need to tell you what an important topical program we're going to be running today, but probably it's all the people who are not on who need to be aware. But we're just so happy to have you all. Before we get started, and I want to share a little bit of housekeeping, I just want to share a little bit about RCS Professional Services. So we are an IT and cybersecurity support company based in New York City and Atlanta, Georgia, but servicing all over the US. And today's, you're going to hear from Jeffrey Tebele, who's our president and CEO, as well as Norman, who's our CIO. So it's really exciting. Some of you may know we do a webinar a month, and sometimes we bring in other panelists, which is awesome. And I hope you're going to join us for future ones. But this time we're taking it back to basic and having our actual team present. So that's super exciting. And before we get started and Jeff and Norman pop on, I just want to let you know that we welcome your questions, comments, and feedback. Please use the little raise hand button on the control panel if you want to share anything or ask any questions, both throughout the webinar. At the end, we'll definitely make sure we address as many as possible, and be sure to follow up with you after if we don't even get to it today. You can also chat them into the questions box, and we'll be glad to address. So without further ado, again, thank you so much for joining us. Jeffrey, welcome.
Hey, Esther. How you doing?
Hey.
Thanks for putting this together. You're the best. Yeah, so I'm Jeffrey Tebele. I'm Jeffrey Tebele, the CEO of RCS Professional Services. We're an IT managed service provider, like Esther said, and I feel like the ability to share data is how IT came to be. And, you know, it's all great stuff, and it obviously drives efficiency and effectiveness in organizations. But we get the question quite often, you know, how do you prevent important data from leaking out of the organization or getting in the wrong hands? And I'm really excited to hear what Norman has to present. You know, with the advent of all these cloud file storage on top of email, right? You got Dropbox, you got Google Drive, you got SharePoint, you got all these things that give great ability to share information inside and outside the organization. And, you know, how do you protect that and prevent it from getting into the wrong hands is just an awesome topic that most business owners should be aware of and know what they could do about it. So I'm really excited. Norman, can't wait to hear what you have to say. Go for it.
Oh, thank you. Hey, everybody. So let's see, we've got a great one for you today. This is data loss prevention, which I'm going to get into, but it's the idea of like security has just become so crazy lately, and everybody's thinking the idea of, oh my God, someone's going to break into my stuff and get to my, you know, get to my data. But what about the data on, what about the people on the inside and data leaking out of your organization, not through some hacker, but through either someone making a mistake or someone doing inside, as in your organization, doing something malicious. So that's what we're going to get into, how you can protect yourself from those sorts of things. So let's get right into it. Okay, so let's go through a few scenarios. Just that thing right there. Okay, so let's go through a few scenarios. Firstly, one is the person inside your company. He's working for you and he is not happy. And you know what? He's so unhappy that he is planning to quit, but not just quit. He wants to take you down with him. He wants to take all your information, all your intellectual property, and dump it out on the internet somewhere. He wants to download your contact file and start his own business with your information. He's going to do something like that. He's someone we really need to protect ourselves from. by the way,
not someone you want on your team, huh?
Correct. But you know, how happy they are.
Our culture webinar for that one.
Yeah. It's a
graphic.
Yeah.
So for all of you at home that don't know, when I create the slide deck, Esther's the one who throws in the graphics, and she'll do something like this, which I think is hilarious. Come on, look how happy they are to take you down. Anyway, let's get to scenario 2. Okay, so scenario 2 is, this is more along the lines of someone's actually just trying to do their job well. Okay, so here's the procurement person. Oh no, this person has been given an order. They have to order 10 computers from, say, Ingram or something, right? So they go and they try to do it, and whatever reason, the order doesn't go through. So they think, okay, great, I really got to get this order done. I'm just going to email them the credit card information and have them do the charge manually. Okay, great, inform me when it's done. Well, yeah, that's one way to get the job done, but that's also one way to put sensitive information out on the internet. You definitely should not be doing that. Let's move on to scenario 3. And this is, oh yeah, this is the person in the HR department who thinks, great, I got all these employees, I'm just gonna make a Word document or Excel file, and I'm just gonna put all of their information in there, their social security numbers, their driver's license numbers, their dates of birth, their addresses, their cell phone numbers, who knows what. I put that all into this file and just save that somewhere out on a file share. Well, that's not cool. I mean, what if that file gets out? We're completely screwed. Not only are we screwed, but our employees are screwed, everyone's screwed. That's just a horrible idea altogether. So what can we do about all this? This is, oh, so actually, now that I've given you a few things, let's go into a bunch of the danger zones that we see as far as your information in your company. So first one, and this one's been around forever, the idea that someone's going to email out something sensitive. Like you saw that credit card example. Someone's just emailing out a credit card, whatever, info. And that could be all kinds of different things. If you're in healthcare, that you might be a person might be emailing out someone's patient's healthcare information, which that's not legal. You can't you can't do that. What if someone is doing something malicious? Okay, so they've got a list of, I don't know, vendor account numbers and passwords, and they want to email that out. Right, they put that all into an email, send it off to some private email address, and awesome. That's not something you definitely not something you want to happen either, because that is definitely going to hurt you. So that's the email part of it. And then there's, where else is your information? It's in the files. These are files you have stored on your cloud file storage. You have it stored on your file servers. You have it stored in your OneDrive, your SharePoint, your Dropbox. Well, that can all have sensitive information. And if it does, it needs to be protected. It needs to be protected where it is, and it needs to be protected so that it doesn't get shared with external users. Keep in mind, that information could be in pictures also. What do I mean by that? It's picture, it's got some text in the picture. That text is sensitive information. That's something you might need to watch out for also. I mean, there's all kinds of ways that people are thinking of to get information off your network. What about the person who, that first guy right in the beginning who really wants to do bad to you? What if that guy says, you know what, I just want to bulk copy a whole bunch of files off of Dropbox onto this hard drive and walk away with the information? Okay, that's a danger zone right there, and that's something we need to deal with. How
That's
about
the scary one, right?
Oh my God, yeah. You're kidding? Because you can really download just now that files are everywhere and they're everywhere accessible. You really got to guard, like, okay, yay, files are everywhere and everywhere accessible, and we can work from
Right.
anywhere. Awesome, but
Right.
wait, files are everywhere and they're everywhere accessible. So
Yeah,
we
plus
need.
we have clients that are in private equity and they're working on deals, all that, target information's in there. We have wholesalers who create and import products and they don't want those going to competitors before they hit the marketplace. So, there's really a lot to protect over there. And I think that one is huge.
Yeah. And then we've got the idea of someone, okay, so now I've got everything in my, say, SharePoint or Dropbox, and someone goes ahead and shares out the top level folder, right? So that's when you log on to Dropbox and you look at your files, it's that first folder you see there. It's got everything under it. It's got a whole bunch of files under it. It's got a whole bunch of folders under it. What if someone shared that folder out to someone externally? Well, that would be giving
Scary.
someone a piece of the kingdom. Just
A
nearly
little
just
scary.
as the someone copying down a whole bunch of files. Okay, so how else can information get off your network? Well, now that we've got chat like Slack and Teams, those things need to be protected. I mean, yeah, I'm sure I can take a file and share it on Teams to someone external. You can have external users in your Teams channels and your Slack channels, and yeah, you can share it to someone externally. Oops, that's not good. And what about video conferencing services? You're like, oh, great. What am I going to do about video conferencing services? But you look at WebEx, you look at like, what was it, Zoom? You can do a chat in there, and you can share stuff in there. So if you can do a chat in there, you can put information out there, and that's something that you need to watch out for. So what do we do about that? This is where, yay, acronyms, DLP comes in. So DLP stands for Data Loss Prevention. Almost said processing there by mistake. Data loss prevention. This is the idea that you've got your information and we need to somehow figure out how to make it secure and not leak out of the enterprise. So let's take a look at email protection. So there's a whole bunch of different data loss prevention services out there. And as far as email goes, it's like sort of table stakes that any of them will do this sort of thing. They'll give you a choice of actions. You can block the email, as in the user just can't send it out. You can encrypt the email, as in, oh, I detected that there was sensitive information in that email, so I made that email go out encrypted. And on the other end, the user has to decrypt. Well, they do it with there's an easy way for them to decrypt it. But anyway, they get sent to a portal to decrypt it. But importantly, the email goes out encrypted so that the sensitive information can't get intercepted along the way. And then there's the third option of you let the person send out the email, but it doesn't actually get anywhere. It just it gets held in like a quarantine for the admin to get to it, take a look at it and say, no, that email is not going out, or yes, I'll allow that email. So that's pretty much table stakes for the email DLP services. So people like Barracuda. Barracuda's got all this built in, and it's great. You know, if you've taken a look at Barracuda Total Email Protection, if you want to protect email, this product's great, and it's got a ton of features in it. And one of them is DLP for your email. Microsoft has this, Google has this, everybody's got it. Okay, but everybody's DLP offering is a little different. And Microsoft's got this nifty little feature that I really love. This is called policy tips. You're going to see this in emails, and you can see this on files later on. This is the idea that as you're typing an email, if you put in something that trips what it's looking for, it's going to show you a little banner on top. So for example, in this graphic over here, I don't know if you can see that, but it says someone wrote in SSN space and then someone's social security number. Well, this thing popped up, this message popped up on top right away, and you can configure that message to say whatever you want. So in this one, it happens to say, hey, this email conflicts with our policy in our organization. You can either override this, or you want to see what our information policy is, you can click this learn more and go to a web page. There's all kinds of things you can do in that little banner, from telling the person, sorry, buddy, you're not gonna be able to send that out, to, hey, I'll let you override this, but I want a good reason, to this thing is gonna get quarantined. Maybe we'll send it out. Let me take a look at it.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's an awesome feature. And furthermore, and this is the thing, like, you find this sort of trying to work outside of apps to get around controls. You find this everywhere. And Microsoft really, on this policy tips thing, has really thought about it hard. So if you're going to use Outlook anywhere, so you use it on your computer, you use it in a browser on your computer, you use it in an app on iOS, you use it in an app on Android, you decide, you know what, I'm going to get around it by opening up Outlook in the browser on my iPhone. It will show up there also. Is there a way to get around it? There's a way to get around everything, but that's why we do a whole bunch of controls on it. But Microsoft has at least applied this to everywhere Outlook is. So it's not a situation of, oh, it only works in certain versions of Outlook. No, this is every Outlook there is, it's there, and it's really awesome. Okay, so let's move on to protecting stored and shared files. So this is the idea of, you've got files, they're on your SharePoint, they're on OneDrive, they're on Dropbox, they're on some cloud file host. So they're there, and maybe there's a problem with them. Maybe I'm going to create a new file that's going to have sensitive information. Maybe I'm going to share that. So what are the features that a DLP solution will apply to this? Well, for one, so how does this work? So DLP solutions scan through everything that's sitting on the share. When you first turn it on, it will do a scan of everything there. Yes, if you have a ton of files, it takes time. But once it's done, it's got a bunch of actions that it's going to do. It'll also, as files change, it's rescanning them to make sure that there's not a problem there. So what can it do? Well, you can set it to do things like just delete the file outright, restrict access to the file. Okay, that person can get access, not that person. That group of people can get access, not anyone else. You can set it to automatically encrypt the file. You can set it so that if the file is currently being shared, stop that sharing right away, or prevent new sharing of that file. You can make sure that if someone shares that file, that link is password protected, as in you click on the link and you have to put in a password. You can, in Microsoft's case, require this sort of multi-factor authentication on shared links. So if I share something from my SharePoint to someone outside the organization, when they go to open that up, they have to put their email in, and they get a code in a separate email to their email. So they get a code in another email, and they have to put that code in to unlock the file, to see the file, which is it's pretty awesome.
So the person you sent it to can't forward that and let another person access that file, basically? Is that what you're saying?
That's correct. Exactly it.
Gotcha.
And then there's that policy tips that I showed you with email. You can apply that to files in SharePoint as well. So you have an Excel file, it'll show up right on top if you have sensitive information in there.
Nice.
So let's see, we discussed one of Microsoft's nifty features. Let's take a look at one of Google's nifty features, because you know what? Those guys, they're both thinking hard. So Google has the idea of, okay, we've got DLP on Drive, and I'm scanning through it and I see something that's a problem. Well, you can do all those things that we said, but what if you don't want to, say, restrict access to the whole file? Well, Google lets you get granular and say, okay, there was a credit card in that file. I'm going to change that bit of the file that says the credit card. I'm going to change it to something else, which says, in this example, CCN, right? Or if there's a date of birth, it changes it with like a little code that says date of birth. The nice thing about this is that other people can use the file without getting access to that sensitive information, but at the same time, if you need that sensitive information back, you can bring it back, which is great. So you can do this on a granular level in a file and not lose the information in there, which is awesome. And of course, since it's Google, and Google's all about search, they're the ones who can find sensitive information in pictures too. The other guys I looked at, I didn't see that in anyone else's, well, I didn't look at everybody. I told you there's a million DLP providers, but I didn't see that in the ones I looked at. And that's a pretty cool feature. So if something's like, it's someone's social security number, somewhere in a picture, it's gonna find that. Okay, what about bulk downloading of files? So I'll tell you what, this is where we get into some of the things that these cloud file hosting services and DLP services actually have a problem with. One of them is bulk downloading of files. So I spoke to Dropbox about this. And by the way, Dropbox got a lot of great controls. here's the great thing about Dropbox. They have a lot of great controls, and they've really put time and thought into the things like their controls, but they also looked around and said, hey, there's someone else out there that's doing this really well and doing this really well for us. Why don't we, do some sort of partnership with them? And in this case, they did it with Better Cloud. Take out the dash there, it's Better Cloud, one word. And yeah, so that Better Cloud has a solution, a DLP solution that works great as far as Dropbox is concerned. And you can say to Dropbox, hey, listen, I need more, and they will hook you up with Better Cloud with great pricing, actually much better pricing than if you went for Better Cloud, and you can use less users, stuff like that. But the things it can do is if it senses that someone is bulk downloading files, it can put that user on hold. So it sort of, gives them a timeout. And then it informs the admin, and admin can come in and see what's going on there, which is great. I spoke to Google about this, spoke to Microsoft about this. I got a maybe from both of them. Didn't get beyond that. All right, what about someone sharing a top level folder? There's another tough one. It's one of those things of how's the service to know that, well, that folder is a high level folder, but the folder underneath it, now that one's okay to share. And it's not really great controls on this, but there are a bunch of things you can do. So for one, all the services have the ability to set a folder to not be shareable. I never want that folder to be shared. That's it. I don't care who, it's not shareable. Done. So you would set that on all your top level folders or folders that are higher in the hierarchy. And then Dropbox, again, guys are thinking, takes this a slight step further. So they've got the ability, so I said the idea of just making the folder not shareable. But what if I want to share that? What if I don't completely want that to be not shareable? Well, Dropbox says, hey, listen, we'll let you share it, but we're gonna only let certain people share that folder. And those certain people are team admins. In Dropbox land, there's in the advanced version of Dropbox, there are different levels of admin. And you can set one of those admins to be a team admin, and that person has the ability to share that file and no one else. So you can have 300 people with access to that folder, but only 2 of them are team admins, and they're the only ones that are allowed to share it. Hey, Tim, my team admin, can you share this folder for me? Exactly. Dropbox's reporting. Okay, so this is important. In the standard version, the reporting is not specific. So I can't say what did Jim do. But in their advanced version of the product, their reporting is remarkably specific. You can report on a ton of stuff. And one of those things you can report on is, well, look at all our folders. Tell me who all of our folders are being shared with. Yay, great. So you can take a look at that report and see who each folder is being shared with. And then they have this nice little feature where if you're in Dropbox and you say, clicking through the file structure on the web. So I went into the web, I logged into Dropbox, I clicked on a folder. In the top right corner, there is little icons, little circle icons. It'll tell you who else is in that folder right now. So if someone else is in that folder, they're gonna see your little icon there. So you can see, you can eyeball who's on that folder, and hopefully it's not anyone you don't want or shouldn't be in that folder.
So on that Dropbox reporting, is it pretty easy to narrow down? Because we come from the days of looking through Windows logs, which is pretty painful. But can you just say what did Jim access between this day and this day, or what did he modify? Is it pretty easy and almost Google searchable?
The answer is yes. So the answer is yes. You're also asking a tech person who does a lot of reporting this question. But yes, I had it shown to me, and you can click on any number of different fields that you want to report on. It's not like oh, I got to go into Crystal Reports and find the table and put that
Right.
field thing. No, this is, you go onto a web page,
Pretty easy.
the things you want to search on. Oh, I want to search on this guy's access to these folders between this time and this time, and boom, you run the report.
Right.
Why did I
Nice.
qualify that with a, I'm a tech person who does reporting a lot, because it's not like you load up the Google web page and just type what you want and walk away. No, it's not like that. You do have to click a few things because you want to
Right.
narrow. But is that clicking a few things to narrow it down difficult? No, not at all. It's super easy and it's right in front of you, and you pick it up in a second.
Yeah, I find the Dropbox reporting to be really easy personally.
Yeah, we went through it. I've seen it before in advance, and it's really, really, really granular. It's great what they did there. Okay, so what about things like chat, Teams, and Slack, and these guys? Well, Microsoft's DLP, their own DLP, will protect Teams chats, but you have to have the right license. So we're going to get to that a little later, because of course Microsoft and licensing is always a fun expedition in Microsoft land. And then Microsoft has this awesome service called Cloud App Security. I'm going to get to that, I think, a bit later. I think I got a slide on that, but it's the idea of being able to use Microsoft's security to protect a whole bunch of other cloud services, like Slack for one. So you can, oh, by the way, this is in preview at the moment. Started, I think, in early June preview. But yes, you'll be able to scan and protect Slack with Microsoft's Cloud App Security. Oh yeah, protecting chat in a video conference service. Well, there's Microsoft Cloud App Security again. They have a connector. Well, it's not a connector. They have an easy way. They have a connection to WebEx. These things are, I've looked at the documentation on these things, and yeah, it's not super hard to set up. It's just, but yes, you can get Cloud App Security to protect your WebEx. And then as far as Zoom goes, it's interesting, Cloud App Security does not work for Zoom yet, and I didn't see anything about it, but I did look around, and again, like I said, there's DLP services, tons of different DLP services. There was one that showed up for Zoom. I didn't get a good look at it, so I don't know how good it is, but there are other services out there to protect these things. People are thinking, and Zoom's big enough that people are figuring out how to protect all of these things. Okay, well, I've said all those DLP things, but what about things outside DLP land? Well, there are other controls you can bring to bear. Dropbox, for example, has remote wipe. You've got your files on a laptop somewhere. That laptop goes missing. Yeah, great. You can remote wipe your files, the Dropbox files, off of that machine when it comes online. About device approvals. So you can set in Dropbox, I only want this person to be able to use Dropbox on one computer. You know what? Fine. I'll let them use one computer and one mobile device. You can set things like that. That's what device approvals does. I want them to be able to, they're allowed to use Dropbox on 2 computers and 1 mobile device. It's stuff like that. And it's a pretty cool feature. So you can limit how many, the guy's not on Dropbox on 15 different computers, because why does anyone need that? And that guy's definitely moving files in the wrong direction. We've got Microsoft Intune. So Microsoft Intune is Microsoft's mobile device management software. You load an agent onto your computers, and then you can control it. You can manage those computers with all kinds of different rules. Some of those things are conditional access. And what happens in conditional access is you can set the rules in Intune to say, hey, if Norman logs on from that computer, that's cool. If Jeff logs on from any computer, but it has to be from the US, that's okay. There's all kinds of different conditional access things that you can allow or not allow, or alert on based on, well, the telemetry, love that word, the information about the login, where the login come from, what IP, what time was it, what computer was it, all kinds of things. What was the operating system on the computer? Did it have antivirus? There's tons of rules you can set in Intune about access to stuff once you have Intune on there. And then, like I said, cloud app security, my new favorite toy. So that thing, it can protect Dropbox, Box, Google Workspace, Slack, you name it, WebEx, you can connect this thing to all those things. And like, so for example, if I decided to connect Cloud App Security to Dropbox, it will do all of those DLP features for Dropbox. It scans through the whole Dropbox. It says, these are the files that are a problem. I stopped, because you made a rule for it, I stopped sharing of this one. I expired the sharing link of that one. It can do all of these things. It's really quite a powerful piece of software.
I mean, on the conditional access one, I think is a big one that gets taken for granted by some companies, especially with remote work right now. Like, just the fact of only accessing data from company issued computers and laptops and stuff like that is really a great way to control. And, you know, when an employee's, you know, gone or whatever it is, to disable the access immediately, quickly, and effectively, as opposed to basically, you know, if they loaded Dropbox or Outlook or whatever it may be on their home computer because we gave them permission to a year or two ago, now that's out there, right? I mean, I guess on Dropbox, like you said, you could remote wipe the Dropbox piece, but you can certainly have more control when you can only access the stuff from company issued hardware, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, we're in an age where people are working from everywhere, from all kinds of computers. I mean, all this was a whole lot easier when everyone was going to the office all the time. They had the computers on their desks, the servers were in the closet, everything was super easy. I knew what I needed to control, I knew my realm. And then, and now it's not like that. So yeah, all of that conditional access, like you're saying, super helpful. And yeah, Dropbox is things like being able to pull files off of machines. Yeah, these things have become super important. Well, what about your file servers? So, like I said just now, file servers, maybe you have a file server sitting in the office. Can you protect that? It's got your files on it. It's got your IP on it, intellectual property on it. We need to protect that. Well, both Microsoft and Google have solutions for this. With Microsoft's Azure Information Protection, you can leverage Windows Server and have it scan through the files and do all the DLP stuff that it would normally do on, say, SharePoint. And Google's Cloud DLP, now this is different. It's a separate product than the DLP that is on email and Drive. So there's DLP on email and Drive. And then there's Google's separate product called Google, Cloud DLP. And you can use Cloud DLP is the concept of, hey, you want to make a DLP product that can be used on other things than Google stuff. So for example, you can use Cloud DLP to scan and protect your local file servers.
Cool.
Yeah, it's cool. Pricing was a little weird on that one because it's per how much you're scanning. So per like gig scanned, and it can get out of control because it's a pay as you use thing. But they have some interesting little controls to hopefully keep that price down and not get out of control on you like when you weren't looking. But yeah. So great. You get all these things. They sound awesome, but no. Now I need to configure it. This is like, if I could tell you how many technologies go by the wayside because someone has to configure them. Gosh, so bad.
You just want to take it out of the box and turn it on, right?
Yes. My God, I mean, how many pieces of technology you just take out of the box and it never gets used because you have no idea how to use it? Same concept here, but luckily, these guys make it at least somewhat easy to do. So this idea of predefined content detectors, like, okay, I know what a social security number looks like, 3-2-4, right? numerals the whole way, numbers the whole way. And if I made a custom detector, yeah, okay, I can write that in terms of whatever I would use as you know, the replacement for numbers and whatever. But since all these things are out there and are known, the services have come up with these predefined ones. So when I go into, say, Google, and I say, Google, I want you to check for anything that's got a social security number in it, I don't go and I type in what to look for. I just pick social security number and it goes and looks for that. Same thing with Microsoft. Yeah, they've got a whole bunch of things. Social security number, driver's license, date of birth, all these things like pre-canned things that I just say, listen, search for date of birth, and it does it. So if you know the things that you need to watch out for, so like say if it's a HIPAA compliance thing, and you know the patient information you need to watch out for, yeah, you can easily choose, okay, that one, and I'm done. Well, take that a step further, and you get to where Microsoft is, which is they've taken all of those predefined content detectors and made a template based on what you are trying to do. So if you have to be PCI compliant, you have a PCI compliant template. So you don't have to make 14 different rules. Oh, look for the social security number, look for the credit card number, look for the expiration date. You don't have to do that. In Microsoft land, you just say, listen, I need to be PCI compliant. And it makes all the rules for you and puts them into play. So instead of making a rule for every single thing you need to look for, you just choose their template, which is awesome. They have templates for everything. HIPAA, PCI compliance, Australia's financial jammy jam. I don't know what it is. There's a whole list. They've got stuff from every country. UK's this, America's that, Uruguay's this. There's all kinds of different things. And it makes it super easy to create this, configure this thing. Yay, somewhat easier. Then Google. Yes, they've got this cool thing. Okay, so Google runs this data protection insights report quarterly, and you can open up that report and it will tell you, here, this is what's going on. There's social security numbers and this and this and this. There's credit card numbers and this and this and this. And it'll say, do you want to make a rule for that? All you gotta do is click, yes, I'll take that rule, I'll take that rule, I'll take that rule. So it's awesome. It does the search for you. So this is what it is, this is what we found. What do you want to protect against? Which makes the whole thing super easy. But there are, let's see, who can do this? Microsoft can do this, Google can do this. This idea of creating a rule and setting it in audit mode to test, which is, yeah, great. This is the idea of, I made a rule. I'm not so sure that rule is going to do the thing I want it to do. I'm hoping it doesn't wipe out or unshare a whole bunch of files on me, but I don't really know what it's going to do. So you turn that thing, you make the rule, and you turn it on audit mode. You come back a little, a while later, and you see what it did. You can leave it going for a month and see what it was doing over a month. And if you then become confident that the rule is doing what you want it to do, great. You put that into motion. And then there's the idea of custom rules, and this is where you really get into, okay, I didn't find the things I needed in the predefined content detectors or the templates or anything like that. This is when I can go in and I can say, yeah, this is the exact thing I need to search for, and have it search for all those things. So configuration, it's not as scary as you think. The companies have put a lot of thought into how to configure these things and make it easy. Okay, so how do you get the LP? Great. Let's talk about Microsoft's licensing. So Microsoft, in the classic bundle way that they do things, have put DLP into certain licenses. And if you'll notice, it's actually in their enterprise licenses. Well, there are two levels of license here. They have DLP for email, SharePoint, and OneDrive. Okay, that's one level of license. And then if you want to be able to scan and protect Teams also, that's the next level of license. So With Office 365 E3 and Microsoft 365 E3, you get, with that bundles, once you're paying for it, you get that, DLP for email, SharePoint, and OneDrive. And then if you have Office 365 E5 and Microsoft 365 E5, you get DLP for email, SharePoint, OneDrive, and Teams. Over in Google land, if you are on a plan that is standard or better, so Google Workspace starts out as, I forget what, then is basic, then there's standard, then there's advanced, and there's enterprise. I think that's the way it goes. If you're on standard or better, DLP is built into it, and you can turn it on for Gmail and Drive. I did mention before that Google's got that other product, which is called Cloud DLP. That's a separate license, separate product that you can get separately. And then Dropbox, it's essentially along the lines of, hey, like I said before, I need more DLP protection, and Dropbox can get you involved with Better Cloud to get that integration going. Get Better Cloud through Dropbox. And as far as Barracuda goes, the thing to note about Barracuda, before I tell you how to get it, is Barracuda is an email security company. They're not a file security company. Not quite yet. I'll get back to that. But they're an email security company, and they do email security really well. So the products that I'm mentioning here do email DLP and not any file DLP, not SharePoint, not Dropbox, not anything like that. And in order to get Barracuda's DLP, either get total email protection, which is that awesome bundle that it's got antivirus, anti-spyware, backup of OneDrive, SharePoint, and mailboxes, archiving, which is keeps a copy of every single email that comes into and out of your organization. It has user security awareness training, where it tests users to see whether they fall for phishing scams, and if they do, it trains them on how not to fall for a phishing scam. It's got Sentinel, which is this awesome piece of AI that it learns the way you write emails, and when it sees an email go past that it doesn't look like you wrote it, in other words, for me, Norman, maybe I sign my emails with Norman with a capital N every time, and then suddenly an email goes past that has Norman with a lowercase n or some other identifier that doesn't look quite like the way I write an email, it's going to flag that, and it's gonna alert on your email maybe having been taken over. It's awesome. So that's Barracuda and total email protection. You can get that. It's built into that. So if you have total email protection, you have that. You have the DLP for email.
Awesome.
Ooh. Yes, questions? What's everybody got out there? Esther? Anybody got any questions?
Yeah, I'll start going through them in a second. If anybody else has questions, please drop them in the question box. We'll be glad to get. What's up?
Sorry, I jumped in there. Jeff, what'd you think? What did I tell you? Did I give you some new stuff?
No, it's good, because I guess the biggest one that's on my mind is just mass copying of information, and if there's some robot that could figure that's happening and shut it down quickly, I think that's awesome. Sounds like there's some solutions out there that do.
Nice.
So somebody asked if slides will be available. We'll definitely release a copy of the webinar to our YouTube channel. So definitely check back there and subscribe if you want to also get future ones. We could definitely send out the slides upon request. So feel free to reach out to us. Norman, if you don't mind just moving to, I guess we'll do it next. We'll go to the last slide. It'll have all our contact information. You could reach out. But we did get one or two questions, which I want to address. Somebody asked, is it possible to stop someone from pasting a whole bunch of sensitive info into a web page?
Ooh, good one. Good. This is a good one, because it's another way of getting like this person's thinking. They're wondering how I can get information off the network. So there is, as far as like anybody's service, anybody's DLP service, no one has, as far as I know, no one has that I saw a thing that protects against this. In talking to Google, I kind of thought they were close to it, but then I asked the question point blank, and he didn't think that they had it. But what you can do with Intune is, that's Microsoft's Intune, that's their MDM service. You can set a rule so that people can't paste something over a certain amount of characters. It's amazing, yes. So if that person was trying to, copy a massive file of who knows what and paste it into a browser, they wouldn't be able to, because Intune would stop them. What else you got?
Got it. Thank you. Again, if anyone has questions, drop them in the chat. We'll take one or two more. Can data loss prevention be used to stop people from sending out resumes?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't know who is this person that is sending out a resume on their business email? I want to know. I want to meet this person. But anyway, yes, you can, because with the custom rules, you can have it look for all kinds of things. I mean, yeah. So this question actually highlights how granular and powerful some of those custom rules are. So you can have it look for things like experience, I don't know what, but anything you can come up with that you can match to a pattern in a group of text, you can alert against. So yeah, can you do that where you stop someone, where it automatically stops someone sending out a resume? Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Got it, thanks. And then before, you touched on if you can like block, you can get an email to yourself saying that you had blocked the user from sending or downloading. So I guess the question is the user notified? Like if you set that up for yourself, those rules, do they get a notification that you have done that?
Yeah, so for example, when you create a rule in Microsoft, it's got a ton of different things you can do. And some of those things are, yeah, inform the user that the email got quarantined, or inform the user that, no, we're not allowing you to send that email. Or don't inform the user at all. Make him think that he sent the email, then we'll tell him later that no or yes. So, and yes, you can do those things in the other services also, where it informs the user that something happened. Absolutely.
Awesome. Thanks. Well, if anybody has future questions, feel free. Our contact information is there on the bottom. You could always email to info@rcsprofessional.com or find us at any of those links at our website, rcsprofessional.com. Norman and Jeff, I want to thank you so much for your time. And you always share super useful and relevant information. There was a lot of stuff there. It's super complex. So Norman, if you can do me a favor and go back to that slide with the Zen girl.
Which one?
That is what happens when all your IT and data protection is in place. That's what it looks like. If you want to experience that, don't call me. I can't help you. Call Jeff or Norman. So feel free to reach out if we could help with any of your efforts. We want everybody to have peace and serenity in their lives. So that's what we're here for. So feel free to reach out. Thank you so much for joining us. Exactly. Come back soon, and hopefully we'll see you all on future events.
Thanks everyone. Esther, thanks for putting it together as usual. Thanks, Norm.
Thank you all. Group effort. See you guys.